Here is the controller unit for an electric blanket by, I believe it says Biddeford blankets, I guess. This was in use one day with the blanket that's actually over in my Maytag A207 over there being washed presently. But it was running. This indicator was on, showing that it was at the high temperature setting. And then I noticed that the blanket started getting cold, and so I looked over at it, and despite it being plugged in, it completely stopped. There was nothing lit up here. The blanket obviously wasn't outputting any heat, and when I smelled it, it had this electrical smell emanating out of the back of it. It's a little bit of candle wax my father dripped on there years ago. I don't think that is anything related to the problem. But I figure I'm going to take it apart and see what maybe failed, and perhaps if the odd case out in Chinese engineering, I might be able to fix it. I doubt that, but I'll see what I can do. Well, I have the cover off presently. I don't exactly see anything obviously apparent. There's a close-up of the board. There's nothing that really seems great, save for a few bad, ugly solder joints there. They don't look like they've failed exactly, but they certainly aren't of the highest quality. Nothing seems outwardly apparent like it's gone to smoke or something, but so I'll remove to the back of the board and see what exactly is on there. But I do notice that some more of my father's candle wax is in here, more than I even thought there would be. That transistor, which I'm going to presume is the main voltage regulation transistor, judging by how big it is, or at least how big it once was. You can even see the holes there and the way it should have been mounted. Then they just eliminated that design there and put in something that was much too small. You can see that is no longer used, and since it's common with this area, they just soldered that end down and made it surface mount. If anything, a showing of less quality. I don't know exactly what they're going for with this whole thing. It seemed more like just a cost cut to me, but I think I may have found the problem, and it was more of an olfactory thing than anything to try to figure out what it was. But judging by these two resistors right there, resistor 43, resistor 44, judging by how they have this kind of ceramic-y look instead of the more polished glazed look of that one, I can't imagine they would have used two different suppliers so much. And they tend to seem to have a bit more of an electrical smell to them. I think they were what went up in smoke. Surprisingly, the board isn't damaged at all. There's nothing else showing there. But I'm actually going to desolder them, at least one side of them, and measure them in a moment. I do believe that I was right. This here, well, it's hard to kind of see, and I think it burnt a little bit, the resistor. That is a brown, black, black, which according to my everything chart here in the resistor chart would be a 100 ohm resistor. At 5% tolerance, no less. Well, I can safely assume that, you know, despite the low battery light being on this multimeter, you know, the junky Harbor Freight one that they give you for free, I think it's quite safe to assume that it isn't that inaccurate, because this thing's reading open circuit at 200 ohms, on the 200 ohm range, and just for a little proof that the meter works, here is shorting it. I'll move this up to the 200k ohm range and see if we get anything. Well, it's reading 1k ohm, which I don't think bodes well exactly for this resistor, at least in this circuit. I don't know whether this failed, maybe it was something else and these resistors were what cooked, but I do believe this resistor is shot, and I'm going to desolder the other one that looks kind of crystal dustized, or whatever you would want to call that, and see what exactly happens with that. But then I'll report that. Well, this resistor reads about the same at right around 1k ohm, but I was actually wrong earlier when I read the color chart. I guess I was in disbelief as to what this thing actually was, but This is not a 100 ohm resistor. It's not off by a factor of 10. It is rather a 10 ohm resistor, 5%. So it's off by a factor of 100. So that doesn't make much sense, because I mean, if I'm just double checking my chart here, but that brown is 1, black 0 times 1 at, well, 5% for gold. So that should be a 10 ohm resistor. But sadly, these things have long since expired and are reading that. Well, I've reassembled everything, and it's going to be marked as which resistors are bad with a sticky note, and it's going to be just sidelined for a while. I'll have to get up to the electronics supply and order that. They probably have it in stock, of course, being just a few resistors. But there's too many other things to do presently, namely reassemble this television set that's taking up space here, part out and junk this vacuum cleaner motor, this Amtech lamp. It's got a dead section on the armature. This TV isn't fixed yet. I just need to get it out of here for now. I have to re-splice together the cord on this Kirby Classic 3. Pardon my lousy cinematography. That television set over there needs a CRT swap. The dryer, I'm still waiting on the Element, which that'll be included in an all-in-one repair video. As soon as the Element comes, the post office has decided that they would tell me that it's not going to be delivered, guaranteed, by the date. So, well, that should be maybe coming Monday or Tuesday or whenever they feel like it, it seems. Well, this concludes this video, and I guess this was just kind of an analysis of what went wrong. It's kind of a break of the usual vintage theme of my videos.